Today's video game review is a budget action roguelike game called Tetragun, which I picked up last week. It's only £2 on Steam, oh yes, and I've had a blast playing it. It calls itself a quadrant-based shooter, which I'll explain. You play as this railgun in the centre of the screen, and enemies will come at you in 360 degrees all the way around the screen across 7 waves. And the reason why it's like Tetragun is because each wave comes with a different coloured background, and you'll go through yellow, orange, red, purple, blue, grey and black. Each wave gets progressively harder, and once you clear a wave, so long as you survive, you get an upgrade to choose from, hence the roguelike element, but so does the enemy, depending on how you spin like a Wheel of Fortune roulette wheel. So, you might up your capabilities, but so do the enemies, and then they become more plentiful and more quicker, and start to dart around the screen and things like that, and it's all very clever. However, coming back to that quadrant-based shooter, there's a control scheme with this game that took me 5 or 10 minutes to get used to, and then it becomes quite pivotal, literally, to the way how you play the game. So, if you see in the centre of the screen, there's 4 arrows or lines that come out from your Tetragun. These split the game screen up into 4 areas, up, down, left and right. And the only way how you can move your Tetragun is to flick the right analog stick to those quadrants, because you've only got 90 degrees of spin on your turret gun to actually aim and shoot within that quadrant using the left analog stick. So, to kind of put that into practice, you might have enemies coming from the right and the left. You might see that the ones at the right are moving faster and are going to hit you quicker because one touch and it's game over. So you'll flick the right analog stick to the right, then use the left analog stick once your turret has rotated around to then pick off and aim and shoot and kill all of the enemies. Then you'll flick the right analog stick to the left, your turret will rotate around, and there's definitely a delay in that, and then you use the left analog stick to aim and shoot things off there. And the key here is because enemies are coming at different pace, and depending on what upgrades your enemies have, they might warp from quadrant to quadrant, for example, or they might split out into multiple options and kind of straddle a couple of quadrants where they're coming down a centre line. You have to pick where you're going to go, what's coming first, and then prioritise your right analog stick movements to rotate your gun around, because it's not the fastest in the world, and then aim with the left. I've probably made that sound far more complicated than it is in reality, but I definitely had for the first 5 or 10 minutes like a right brain, left brain fade moment, and then it clicked, and then I was off and away and I had a blast. The other cool thing is that as you kill more enemies with your secondary weapons, or as you can clear runs with your primary weapon, you then unlock other weapons to equip to your Tetragun. And this dramatically changes how you approach the game, because a shotgun has a spread of bullets that will fly out, whereas a laser is really thin and direct but very powerful. A shotgun is not nearly as fast as, say, the normal quickfire gun, and so it depends on what gun you pick, the difficulty level you choose, and the primary and secondary weapons that you equip. So there's one where it's got a wheeled spike that will fly around the screen, and that's quite helpful. There's other ones that kind of send out a bomb in a quadrant type thing. It depends on how you equip your gun as to your tactics that you play, and then that plays into what upgrades you choose, because at the end of each wave you've got things that might increase the speed of your rotation of your gun, it might increase the range of a bullet, it might increase the damage of a bullet, it might give you a shield, which can then be almost like thinking of Arkanoid. It will block a specific quadrant, and that can be helpful. You can also put in additional turrets so that they can shoot things, and that looks after a quadrant for you, so you don't need to think about it unless something's coming in fast and it can't keep up. There's a lot of variation in here, and one of my favourite things is the asteroid belt. And this is, as you kill enemies, you get a random chance of it becoming an asteroid that then circles around the perimeter of your gun. And if you get and choose that early, you can build up a proper asteroid belt that blocks loads of things coming into you and can be very, very powerful, particularly on harder difficulties. For a game that's £2 on release, and I think it's £2.49 now that its launch week discount's gone, this has no right being as addictive and as fun and as ridiculous as it is. And yeah, it doesn't look great on the screen, it's quite minimalistic, but it absolutely kicks ass. And yeah, this is one of those little budget games that can. Thoroughly recommended to anyone that likes a real simplified, distilled down, Arcadian, for want of a better phrase, action roguelike. It will definitely give you a good few hours of gameplay for the price point, so it's definitely a bargain. Higher Plane Games is part of the Higher Plane Network, a completely independent media outlet supported by people like you. The goal is to create the best possible content that cultivates a richer indie scene for games as well as music and entertainment. To find out more and to get involved, visit patreon.com/higherplane network. Your support makes all the difference, and in return you'll gain access to bonus content and downloads. Thank you for watching.